Well, major pump coming for Bitcoin and crypto and the stock market. Even gold is going to pump because we've just had the meeting from the Federal Reserve. And guess what? Jerome Powell just confirmed they're going to do some QE, quantitative easing. This is exactly what Pablo has predicted in his last video, in the immediate last video. I made this video, as you know, like 24 hours before the Fed announcement, before the Fed meeting. And let's have a look at which I got correct and which I got wrong. And this is an important episode, folks. First, we see that the reaction in Bitcoin and stocks was to do a dump and then a bounce, right? The SPY did the same thing, kind of went into the red, but closed in the green. So kind of like this as well. Why did it cause this? Well, first of all, the most immediate reason was this. Okay, so look at this. We have for 10th of December now, probability of a rate cut is now 2/3. Probability of no rate cut is 1 in 3. Whereas we had like only yesterday we had 0% chance of rates on hold. Now it's 1/3. We had 9% chance of a rate cut, and today it's 67% chance. Oh no, actually. It's basically, we went from 90% chance to 67% chance because this was before the rate cut. So now 2/3 chance we get a rate cut, 1/3 chance we get the rates on hold. And what's happened is this. I believe the market has misinterpreted what Jerome Powell was saying. He had to say what he had to say in order to stay conservative. Essentially, Jerome Powell basically said, the next rate cut that's coming in December, which is this one, it's not locked in yet. We can't be sure of that, right? We can't be sure of that. And so that spooked the market because the market had it at like 10% chance of rates on hold, 90% chance of a rate cut. And now we've gone to, right, 2/3 and 1/3. And I would say that, yes, that is, the market is reacting to a very short-term signal here. Right. But the bigger signal, as I told you guys in my very last video, is this, that the Federal Reserve is about to end QT and start QE. So what happened? In this episode? By the way, I'm going to explain why I have this chart mapped out for Bitcoin to hit much higher, next leg up. The reason is because of this. The Federal Reserve, I said they're going to end QT possibly today. At the latest, I said they're going to end it in December the 10th, which is the next meeting. So what they've done is they've chosen something in between. They decided definitely to end QT today. But they gave a future date to end it on December the 1st, which is not the next meeting, which is not December the 10th. Because if they're going to end it on December the 10th, they could just have the meeting on December the 10th, which is the next meeting, and they could say, we'll decide it on the next meeting. No, they did not do that. All they've decided is basically, hey, look, we'll just end quantitative tightening. We'll end taking money or liquidity out of the banking system, and we've made a decision on that today, full stop, and it's going to happen on December the 1st. Let me just ask you this. What's the difference between ending on December the 1st to ending on November the 30th? Right? There's no difference. There's like about 22 hours, 18 hours difference if you're counting the working days. There's no difference. The only difference is it makes them look good when they say we ended in December rather than saying we ended in November. That's the big difference, see? It makes virtually no difference, but now they can say we're ending in December, right? So it doesn't make them look foolish, and they got it so wrong that they only announced 3 weeks ago that they're going to possibly end QT, wind down QT, and they ended in November, which is 1 month after they've announced. Now they can say, well, we ended in December. But what I want you guys to take on board is that it's not December the 10th, which is the next meeting. They're not living up to a decision on December the 10th. They're basically ending quantitative tightening They've decided that today already in today's meeting, and it's going to happen on December the 1st, which is before the next meeting. Okay, now let's have a look at which fractal am I using for this? Why am I using this optimistic fractal for Bitcoin? And but before we answer that question, first let's answer the question of which crypto exchange does Pablo use? Well, Pablo uses exchange that's non-KYC. So that means you don't need to show any ID. That means even the exchange can't see who you are. So that means the IRS can't see you, the tax office can't see you, FBI, CIA, nobody can see you, total privacy, right? So that's why I made this exclusive deal, exclusive link on the Pablo link only with this exchange, and basically get the chance to win up to $6,000 plus 2 ETH, whatever ETH might be worth at the end of this competition period. And also get 20% bonus just by depositing and doing a bit of live trading. Deposit $100, right? Get $20 futures bonus by trading over 4K. Deposit $500, get $100 futures bonus by trading over 20K. You get the idea. 1,200, right? 20%. But this is limited time only, folks, because this deal finishes on 4th of November, midnight. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then that's okay. The link is in the description below. But if you're watching on any other platform, such as this one, just click on my profile page and there is my link tree or stand link. We click on that and it should be the first deal that pops up because this is a great deal. Okay, let's get back to the markets, folks. But remember, this deal is exclusive only on the Pablo link. Only on the Pablo link. So this fractal is, I've mentioned there's like 4 scenarios I think that we're very similar in with the big crash, liquidity crash down here to like 101K on the Bitcoin chart, right? On the Binance chart. That's why Binance probably a little bit dodgy. The chart that the fractal that people see me use a lot is basically this May 19th, 2021 crash, probably also caused by Binance, and up we go, right? But this one is more of a falling wedge. So if we draw the line through here, if we draw the line here, it's a downward pointing triangle. That's why I call it a falling wedge, and then up we bounce. But to be more optimistic, I am using this crash, which is also a liquidity driven crash, which is August the 5th, when the Japanese US dollar Japanese yen carry trade, right, started going in the other direction, right? So basically, look, it crashes and then we bounce and we establish a higher bottom and then a next higher bottom and up we go. So between the time of the bounce, which is August the 5th, to the final bottom, which is October the 10th, it was 2 months. 2 months and like 4 days, right? So I've taken this fractal and placed it here, okay? So this is, for folks who are in my Discord and folks who are following me on social media, this is basically just another fractal I'm using. There are 4 that I could use. Obviously, I'm not going to use the March 2020 crash because that's COVID crash, and the Fed came out saying unlimited printer, unlimited QE. We're not in that situation, so that's obviously the reason why I'm not using that fractal. And the October 2020 crash, 2022 crash, that was the bottom of Bitcoin at 15K. That was due to FTX crash, and that was too pessimistic. Obviously, I'm not going to use that fractal. So it's the May 2021 crash, and now the August 2024 crash that I am using. Right. So with this one, for a rough idea, we get this crash down to 101K, right, according to the Binance chart, which is, a lot of cheating and manipulation involved, and then we pop up to as high as 120K, right? We pull back to something like 105, 106K area, and we bounce up hit 122, 123K again, and we bottom around, pull back around 113K to test everyone's resolve. We bounce above key support and up we go, and we end up around 165K, which has been my target, between 140 to 165K. I said, but in terms of timing, I said the top would come in around September to November, between September to November. That would take us outside that timing, which would then make me question if the 4-year cycle is exactly in play or not. So I'll keep you guys updated if that's happening or not. Now, let's have a look at one of our favorite coins. And that is, of course, Pretty. What's happening to Pretty, Pablo? Everyone's asking. What's happening to Pretty? Pablo, what's happening to Pretty? Pablo, what's happening to Pretty? Pretty, what's happening is had a green, like God candle today, basically gone from 10 cents to 1 cent to 1.8 cents. So like an 80% run compared to the close yesterday. And it's closing even right now at new all-time highs. I think we're going to get the close in the next 2.5 hours. And, Pretty is closing somewhere in the new all-time highs. Closing, that's pretty special. And I think what could happen is basically we get a cup and handle pattern. There's going to be lots of selling around this 1.8, 1.9 cents area, right? As we can see, lots of wicks there because there's lots of selling pressure. We get a lot of sales there, and basically, boom, we're going to close. We'll get lots of pullbacks, right? Even to 1.4, 1.5, even let's call it 1.4 cents, right? Boom, and then up we go. Kind of following like the wire trajectory. But what's the news? What's the news that's driving Pretty? Remember Pablo called Pretty around here when it was like 1.3 mil 1 mil market cap, and then when it went up like 2.5x and then dumped, and everyone panicked saying, "What happened to Pretty, Pablo? What happened to Pretty?" And then we made a new all-time high, and then another new all-time high, and now we're about to close on a new all-time high. But folks panic, and they're not used to crypto. This is just crypto, folks. Like, especially when in the current environment we have two things working against us. One is the Fed is not doing much QT, doing a lot of QT, and they're not doing QE just yet. And the second reason is that there's so much supply. There's so many coins. There's unlimited supply for this altcoin season, because you can thank Pump Fund, who started that, and then Virtues copied that, and then so many platforms, coins started copying Pump Fund, like 4.meme on Binance, trying to launch, enabling retail to launch as many coins as possible. So now basically, it is kind of pretty special that Pretty and Wire can perform so well and can add to its new all-time highs. Now, just before going back to Pretty and explaining what actually happened to Pretty to cause this massive pump, I'm going to explain quickly why the Fed is signaling they're going to start QE. So this was the chart I explained yesterday, which is basically the total reserves by banks, right? Federal Reserve banks, when they it's basically the total amount of money they keep in their banks or bank vaults before they lend it out or invest in U.S. Treasury bonds, total reserves. And so the key line here is basically $3 trillion. Once they dip below $3 trillion, then becomes a massive problem, right? Banks start having problems, liquidity problems, because you got to keep some money in the bank. Not everything can be on fractional reserves, and you just keep on, once it dips below 3 trillion, then they start going to the Federal Reserve and asking the Federal Reserve for some money using the standing repo facility, which is what I was talking about mainly in my video yesterday. So what the Fed basically, Jerome Powell said is this, that they're gonna obviously end QT on December the 1st, which is way before the next meeting. And then they're going to basically start some form of QE. He didn't exactly say that, but you need to interpret what he says. He says they're going to stop the maturity of MBS, which is mortgage-backed securities, because they buy a lot of mortgage-backed securities. They hold it for like 3 years or 5 years, and then when it becomes due, they usually just keep the money, and then therefore that's money taken out of the market. But now they're going to take that money and they're going to invest it back into into treasury bills, not bonds, but bills. So that is signaling to me that they're ending QT and they're going to basically be going flat. They're not taking more money out of the system. They're not adding more money into the system, but they're basically going to be holding flat. And they're going to be transitioning from mortgage-backed securities into treasury bills. Now, in some ways, you can interpret that and say, oh, they're holding flat. But in some other ways, you could say that, well, look, with the standing repo facility, as I explained in the last episode, that just means they're basically going to be buying treasury bonds or treasury bills from the banks. And now that's just from the standing repo facility for 24 hours. And now they're going to be using the money they get from the maturity of MBS to buy more treasury bills. Then you could say that is, by strict definition, the Fed may not call that QE, but they've done plenty of not QE before. This is adding more liquidity into the market. This is the opposite of QT. It's what I would call a soft and slow version of QE right now. And so far, that is much better news than the Fed selling $45 billion worth of US Treasury bills and bonds into the market. That's what they're doing right now. So instead of selling $45 billion, they're taking that away and they're adding slowly and softly into the market. The opposite of taking liquidity away and adding slowly and softly. It's far from the QE we had in 2021, which was like $4 trillion added in like, what was it, 5 months, 6 months, whatever. But it still means a huge 180 degrees shift, right? 180 degrees U-turn. So look, last thing I'll say about it is this. Imagine if the Fed was driving like 45 kilometers an hour in this direction, right? Which is not good for the markets. Now they stop and they turn and they start bicycling at say 5 kilometers to 10 kilometers an hour in the opposite direction, right? That's kind of the news for the market, if you guys get what I'm saying. So now let's get back to Preti. What happened is basically, you all know this guy. This is superstar Tom Lee, right? Tom Lee, he is the head of a research fund on Wall Street called Fundstrat, right? Which means basically ETF strategies. And they basically going to invite the founder of Virtues Protocol, Jensen Ten, to have a meeting, to have a webinar with them on November 3rd. And they're going to highlight 4 coins, crypto projects on Virtue's AI agent, right? And guess what? Like, they have obvious, big, massive, obvious ones. Number 1, number 2, such as AI XBT, which is, you all know what it is, right? Which is kind of like a AI agent, spitballing a large language program on the Virtues chain, base chain. But one of the 4 coins, only one of the 4 crypto projects other than AI XBT they talk about is Predict Base, or Preti, right? And it is like the smallest by far. And that is why we're seeing this right now, right? A rocket up and a potential close at new all-time high, right? Cup, and then handle, and then boom, up we go. So I think that's pretty good news here. Okay, thank you for tuning in, folks. Thank you for keeping the faith in Preti, Wire, and a bunch of coins that Pablo talk about. Catch you next episode.